there and welcome to the Tech Spot, where we bring you the groundbreaking new concepts in technology disrupting traditional sectors. I'm Uche Okoronkwo, and this week we're tackling the growing threat that cybercrime and fraud is posing to Africa's thriving digital economy.
You can find a bit of
it was perhaps one of the most perplexing and trending stories of the past year. Netflix's legendary documentary on the Tinder swindler, wherein famous conman Simon Leviev catfished and scammed an estimated $10 million from women using one of the most popular dating apps. It certainly raised a lot of questions about the delicate balance between security held by governments, online apps, and internet users. In Africa, while the tech ecosystem and startup landscape is at a historical peak, the UN's Economic Commission for Africa says that cybercrime is now one of the top risk factors likely to jeopardize economic growth. A report by Interpol says that weak networks and security make the continent particularly vulnerable, with 90% of businesses operating without the necessary cybersecurity policies and standards in place. And even though the continent can boast the world's fastest growing telephone and internet networks, that Interpol report is raising the alarm on the fast-growing threat of fake online messages, digital extortion, compromised online systems, and ransomware.
Well, TechSpot is now heading to the ground to find out more about how consumers are affected by the growing rate of cyber fraud and crime. Now, in Kenya, 83% of the population is now online, which certainly means that the threat is particularly evident in the country. Well, Anastasia Waweru finds out how a company called Pickup Mtani is now attempting to stand between consumers and online fraud.
Nairobi Expats is a place even I have posted things to sell.
Living as an expatriate in Kenya, Kate Ellen is one of many foreigners who enjoy Kenya's vibrant online marketplace for second-hand goods. Pages such as the popular Nairobi Expat Marketplaces on Facebook offer a variety of used products and even services where buyers can find options that are easier on the pocket. But Kate soon found her pockets emptied of almost $700 after attempting to buy a second-hand fridge.
They said it's only 13 months old, you know, and I thought, oh, okay. And because of the high turnover rates in Kenya on expats and everything, it seemed like a real thing because sure, people come and go to Kenya easily within a year or so. So I got in contact with the lady, Sophie Camilla was her name on this particular, I don't know if she changes her name, but anyway. And I asked her if it was available. She said yes. I asked questions about the refrigerator. She answered all of my questions. I asked her to take a picture of the sticker on the refrigerator, and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot I was knackered from work last night. I mean, very personable excuses that we would all have. She said, I'm at G4S now, so send me the money for that. It's this much to where you are. And I said, okay. And I did. And then she sent me a number, a waybill or whatever it's called, the G4S number. And I said, great. Next morning I checked it and it was not a real number. And that's when it hit me. I was like, I can't believe this. I can't believe that I was just scammed out of, that much money, 73,000 shillings. I was like, so yeah, that's what happened.
Katie's story is a common one here in Kenya. Kenya's Bureau of Statistics says an increase in the use of the internet in 2020 has triggered a 54.2% rise in cyber advisories. Cases of phishing, which is the use of fake emails, texts, and even phone calls posing as legitimate sources, have tripled in the country between 2019 and 2020. Reported online crime rose by nearly 40% to nearly 140 million by 2020, from just over 25 million in 2018. In Kenya, catching up with cybercriminals, especially those who use social media to prey on their victims, has proved a tough task. While there are online platforms such as the Buyer Beware Facebook page used to call out online scammers, hidden IP addresses and unregistered SIM cards make it even harder to trace those culprits. But companies like Pickup Mtaani are providing a local solution. Pickup Mtaani, which in Swahili means collect from your neighborhood, is simply providing a service that stands between consumers and more informal marketplaces on social media. And here is how it works. Before completing an online purchase, the customer can now verify if the seller delivers through Pickup Mtaani.
Hello. Yes.
If they do, using Kenya's popular mobile money service M-Pesa to manage secure digital payments, the customer then pays a delivery fee to Pickup Mtaani on their mobile device. And the seller then drops off the product at one of Pickup Mtaani's almost 100 local collection points across the country. The customer is notified by SMS and provided with a unique code which they can use to collect their order. According to the company's founders, the solution is helping to make the process more safe and secure.
We have a section on our profiles on Instagram and also on Facebook, where we do highlight from time to time when a customer raises a query about a certain business that they've bought from online, and it turned out it wasn't a real business. So there's much you can do, and one of the things is just highlighting those businesses and those profiles.
I just need to type in the code.
Kenya's e-commerce and online delivery market is already saturated with more bigger and more tech-savvy players like Jumia, Sendi, Uber and Bolt. But Pickup Mtaani caters to the many smaller and less informal businesses on social media that have virtually no systems that provide oversight over their practices. Because the company juggles around 200 businesses every day with about 3,000 firms registered under their digital initiative, they are helping to create a platform that will in turn give customers a channel to check if vendors are indeed legitimate. They are now building their own app, which allows both businesses and customers to track their orders in real time at each stage of the process.
GoTrackIt was introduced to monitor the packages that are going to our Mtaani agents. As you see, we have over 150 agents within Kenya at the moment. So to us, we needed that clarity also to see, okay, at this particular package, where is it? Is it with the rider? Has it been dropped? But also to coordinate these agents that are outside our scope, because we as Pickup Mtaani, we have control, but our agents are local shops that are existing in neighborhoods.
Of course, companies like Pickup Mtaani are only part of the solution. According to internet security group Kaspersky, Africa is now the target for cyber criminals, with an increase in cyber threats in Kenya rising to 32.8 million last year. Proof of just how significant the danger has become in the country.
Well, let's discuss all this further. We're now joined by Anastasia Waweru, and she joins us here in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you, too.
Now, what I'm really curious to know is how are regulators in Africa approaching what is clearly a fast-growing rate of online fraud on the continent?
So, Uche, the regulators we're talking about are the Competition Authority of Kenya and COMESA's Competition Commission. So both regulators are saying they have actually infiltrated the digital space, the digital markets and the digital platforms where they're extending the consumer protection mandate. And they have actually engaged with online platforms, the e-commerce players, the fintech services, and some of the issues that they deal with are something like drip pricing, where the consumer is not alerted about hidden charges until the end of their transaction. And they're also saying that this same regulation, these monitoring systems can be applied to social media platforms. But social media presents a double-edged sword, because anybody, even you and I, can open up a business online today. So they're also calling on consumers to do their due diligence, check about what businesses you're dealing with online. So another thing that's interesting is that the regulators themselves are digitizing their services. So this year, the CAK launched their own app in February to make make it easier for the consumer to have access to information and as well as file complaints faster and from just about anywhere.
Now, you actually sat down with some of these regulators to find out more about what they're doing. Let's now take a listen into what they had to say.
The mobile app was launched by the authority as one of the processes to ensure that we are reaching out to the common Kenyan, to all Kenyans for that matter, and ensure that we have a system where they can lodge a complaint seamlessly from the comfort of their desks, their homes, from wherever they are, in a restaurant or from whichever county they are in. One challenge we have seen is that most of the businesses that sell through social media are either not registered companies or do not have registered physical addresses. And obviously getting them is a challenge. So there's a gap in that particular aspect, because when somebody purchases a product through social media, and they do not know the location of that particular company, in case of a dispute, it would be difficult for the authority to reach out to that particular company because they are basically faceless.
In February, African competition watchdogs from Nigeria, South Africa, Mauritius, Egypt and Kenya agreed to review their approach to regulation in digital markets. The 5 nations plan on working together to share knowledge, develop capacity and mutual strategies. For the regional body COMESA's Competition Commission, regulatory functions extend between states across the common market. And the body says it has now infiltrated the digital platforms where it is extending its mandate on consumer protection.
As far as fraud is concerned, we'll have multi-institutions involved. We may have the police, state police involved. We may have the communications authorities in different countries involved, cybercrime units involved, and even us may be involved as long as that fraud can be connected and demonstrated that it has an effect on the consumer. If someone comes and develops an online platform, and then they say you can actually engage the buyer on this online platform, but should something go wrong, you should know that me who has created this online platform, I'm not liable. But then they do not tell you who's the buyer in the background. That can be subject to serious fraud, because it means I can deposit my money there. My money is stolen. And then this guy has put a condition that I'm not liable. And in the first place, he never even told me who the buyer I'm dealing with. So that can be serious fraud. And that fraud would have a direct impact on the welfare of the consumer in terms of losing that money.
On a continental level, cyber experts believe that to fight the threats of cybersecurity, the African Union's Malabo Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection needs to be ratified. Created in 2014, the convention offers data protection guidelines for Africa and sets forth the security rules essential for establishing a credible digital space. But the agreement has been plagued by delays as countries mull it over.
Well, many thanks to Anastasia for those great insights. Now, while we can all agree that cybersecurity is essential and that there is great need for African governments to fall in line with the global standard for cyber norms and also international laws for responsible behavior in cyberspace, some stakeholders are still worried that those measures implemented to ensure cybersecurity on the continent could actually stifle Africa's thriving digital economy through, of course, restrictive legislation. But the discussion continues, and that's where we'll leave it on this edition of the Tech Spot.